But first, Nuggets and Wolves. Very interesting. Wolves take game one in Denver, 106-99 to take a 1-0 lead in that series. They're 5-0 this postseason. It's the longest win streak in the postseason in franchise history. The previous 19 years, they were 4-12 in the playoffs. And gang, first time the Nugs have trailed in a series in 2 years. Ant-Man, he's here. He's real.
Sure is. I mean, this series was interesting. I mean, this game, obviously, not series, but this series was interesting going into it. I felt like the Timberwolves were going to give the Nuggets a hard time for a multitude of reasons. Their size, Anthony Edwards has just been absolutely phenomenal. But this was the first time the Nuggets were held to under 100 points in the postseason. So that speaks volumes, right? They struggled offensively. I think the biggest thing that I took away from it is, obviously, I think they have more size on the inside with Cat and Rudy Gobert. But the biggest question mark for me of what I saw in game one, Jamal Murray, man, he does not look healthy. Like, he looks like he's there, but he does not nearly look like he's 100% there physically. And I think if you don't have Jamal Murray, a healthy Jamal Murray, it's going to put a strain on this offense to go ahead and fill the void that he, fills when he is 100% healthy. Because I don't know if the plan is to cover and mask what he's unable to do because he's not 100% and really like tap in and zone in on what he can. But they got to figure something out because you don't have an answer for Anthony Edwards as it is. You need all the offensive scoring you can help, and he just does not look on his P's and Q's. Like, I don't know what's going on with him at all.
Yeah, and you're right about Jamal Murray. They need it because, and I'm not going to overreact, right? Although I was thinking about the CBS predictive model that, John, you brought up either on the pod or maybe on one of our CBS Sports.
8-0 in the first round.
Yeah, it's crushing it. And they liked the Timberwolves, if I remember right, in this series. They liked Minnesota. So here's another issue that we saw and why, Ash, you're right. They better have Jamal Murray. I mean, you better have Jamal Murray in a vacuum, but this is not a vacuum because I know Jokic is amazing. He's the best player on earth. I don't want to get carried away. And he had a pretty good line. What was it? I don't have a 32, 9, and 8 or 32, 8, and 9. But I have never seen
9 and 8. Yeah.
Yeah. I've never seen Nikola have to work that hard in a game that mattered. And look, a little inefficient, that's fine. He just, and you brought this up, Ash, the size of Gobert, the size of Naz Reid. I mean, if Cat's there, he's not a small dude. I mean,
game. Naz Reid, 6th man of the year, like he handled business.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be. Can Jokic still be Jokic? Of course he can, but it's going to be, I think, so much harder if the first game is anything to go on. And Tim Connolly is the guy. And I think you brought this up on HQ as well, and everyone's talking about it around the league. Tim Connolly is the guy that built the Nuggets, was in charge of basketball ops there before they won their championship, moved to Minnesota. And it was kind of a weird move when he did it. And then he's the guy that traded 4 first-round picks to go get Gobert, and we all thought the guy forgot how to be a GM. But he's built a team that if anybody can frazzle Jokic and anybody can make life hard enough on Denver that maybe you can beat them, it looks like this Timberwolves team. And I'll just close with this because I've already lost the bet, and it's over. But I will say this in my defense. I did not know Anthony Edwards was actually Michael Jordan, like incarnate, at least in the playoffs, because what Ant is doing in conjunction with a team built to make life really hard for Jokic, I have completely recalibrated everything I think about the Timberwolves, and I'm prepared. They got to beat Denver, but they are as much a contender as anybody out there. And I think that's whatever happens going forward, that's the takeaway from that game.
You didn't see the side-by-side that circulates after every good game that Anthony Edwards has, where it's like half Jordan, half Anthony Edwards.
Are we going to talk about why? No.
They do somewhat look alike. I'm not saying that's his kid or anything crazy like that.
Okay, there it is.
They do have very similar facial structures. It's weird. It's kind of.
I wasn't going to go there, but he does from a basketball perspective. Just like what he did in the fourth quarter, his spinning turnaround shot. Just the guy is. I mean, that's all cliches, but the guy is just cold-blooded and amazing in the clutch. He's just he carried the T-Wolves offensively against the Denver Nuggets, and he's unfazed at every step so far.
He looked amazing. I mean, he went for 43, 7, and 3, and he cooked pretty much everybody they put on him. With KCP as the principal defender, he was 8 for 11. With Aaron Gordon, I thought they would throw some Aaron Gordon at him because, size-wise, that could be a potentially interesting matchup for Denver. He was 3 for 3 against Aaron Gordon. Jamal Murray had some to Ashley's point about Jamal Murray not looking right. He was 3 for 3 against Jamal Murray when Jamal Murray was the principal defender. And even worse for the Nuggets, the Wolves clearly had a game plan of hunting Jamal Murray in the pick and roll. And when they did hunt Jamal Murray in the pick and roll, not to get too into the weeds on the stats here, but they were averaging north of 2 points per possession in the pick and roll when they targeted Jamal Murray. And like, if you're at 1, you're doing pretty well. If you're north of 1, you're doing really well. If you're at 2 points per possession, that is like ridiculous efficiency and a really bad sign for the Nuggets, because you know that the Wolves are going to keep trying that until the Nuggets come up with a way to stop that. But to the idea
I also think it's just like, to simplify it, it's just very impressive for a team this young and this inexperienced in the playoffs to go into Denver, home of the reigning champs, and game 1 set the tone for the rest of the series. Like the cliche that we always hear in the playoffs, and the series doesn't start until someone loses at home. It is a statement game to let that game changer be game 1. Like, they rolled in there, laser focused, and said, we're going to take your heart and we're going to take it early in this series. And that's exactly what they did. And to have that killer instinct for a team that, once again, is young and also inexperienced when it comes to this time of year, because they are, is just, that's what I feel like for me is the scariest part of it. Because teams have bad games, and like, that's not a surprise
I'm with you
at all. Like, you know, sometimes it's just a little bit. They went in there with that killer instinct right from the get-go, and it's just like, damn, it's, I don't know, like that.
And Jokic like shook.
Yeah.
I thought maybe I was seeing something that wasn't there. And then the post-game press conference, they ask him what he needs to sort of deal with all the height and the length. And he says, a clone of myself, which is kind of, everybody laughed, but that is not a good sign if you're the Denver Nuggets. That's where he's at already.
Well, like we said, I mean, like the Wolves are a really difficult matchup issue and an interesting one academically, but we saw it in game 1, how it manifested itself when they have those 3 bigs and they really harassed him. And we talked about it on HQ. Like, yeah, Joker went for 32, 9 and 8, but they made him work in all of it. And I think, you know, when I was talking about Jamal Murray targeting him, it was also in the pick and roll with Joker. So he had to do work at both ends of the floor, and it was a lot to ask of him. And then meanwhile, you've got Anthony Edwards being absolutely outrageous in that first game. And I was wondering, like, I was thinking about it, you know, he's 22 years old and he plays out of his head at both ends of the floor and has obviously influenced this series and the postseason significantly. And is he already in, I mean, he is in the conversation, but I'm trying to figure out who else should be in it, of the best two-way players in the NBA. And like, the people I came up with were, off the top of my head, Embiid and Giannis, and like, I guess to a lesser extent, just because we saw him not be available, Kawhi for the postseason. Like, maybe we're already talking about Wemby, but that's the conversation he's in right now. Who am I missing?
I mean, is Paul George still somebody you would point to? Like, not really.
Lower down the list, right?
Yeah, second tier. And did you already throw this stat out there? Like,
he's been really committing to defense as of late. Can you put Luka, whether it's like a low?
No, absolutely not. He's been better he's operated well in that defense the way Steph does, but he's not
harder. But he's not a good
Edwards.
Defender.
What are the stats? Edwards and the guys that he was the primary defender on in that game shot, I think 28% in that game for the Nuggets. Like Edwards was also arguably the best defender in the game yesterday. I mean, I'm with you, John. And Ash, you said this, I think, a month or 2 ago, and I was like, okay, maybe. But now you're right. You're ahead of it. He's going to be the face of the league because he's got he's got something. He's just got it. And then you throw in the fact that dude can win in the playoffs and he's fearless.
He is also like a personality. I think he's also,
he's cool.
He's fun. And I think that,
fun.
Not that
he's cocky as shit.
Right.
In a good way.
Not that like it should matter, but it does matter, because when we talk about the face of the league, you kind of want somebody personable. And I know maybe that's a little bit direct contrast to like a Jordan. Jordan wasn't the most like personable person in the world. He wasn't like the friendliest, but people really just wanted to be like him. And I think that Anthony Edwards has that appeal, but he also has like personality. And I don't know if it's because he just grew up in a different generation. He's younger, but he's funny. Like, he's engaging. Like, he gives sound bites. And I think that, you know, he just has everything in the equation of like what the face of the league should be like on paper, you know?
He's edgy. He got that tech. He got that tech from, by the way, thank God that was not decided by a point right at Denver because he got that garbage tech from just who was he staring down, John? I can't remember. He was just in somebody's grill.
It might
They
have been
teed him
Jamal.
up.
I don't remember. I do remember Jamal
He's-
Murray giving finger guns afterwards, and like he didn't get a tech. And I'm like, what are we doing? We're giving techs for people
Right.
staring other guys down, making great plays in the
It was
postseason.
awesome.
I mean, like,
I
come
love
on,
the
that's
guy.
ridiculous. I am very, very interested before we move on here to see how the Nuggets respond tonight. I would expect that they bounce back and take one on the floor, and they go to Minnesota with the series
They
split.
better.
But as Ashley mentioned, like that is a statement win by the Wolves out of the gate where everybody was like, hey, this could be kind of interesting on paper. Like Tim Connolly is kind of playing chess against himself here. He set up the first team and now he's setting up the team that could end up beating that team. I will say that the Nuggets opened as the favorite. Bill and I were talking about this on Friday. They opened up as the favorite. Now the favorite in the series is the Wolves. So
Amazing.
I mean,
Amazing.
very, very interesting. We'll see if Ant and those guys can get it done or if Joker and Jamal bounce back tonight.